Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilkie and I'm here with another Shadow Arena hero breakdown slash guide. Today's topic is gonna be Sura of the Sixth Blades, or Awakened Ninja for those of you who are familiar with video. I'm back from vacation, so I will also stream or go back to my streaming schedule as before. But without further ado, as usual, we're gonna talk about pros and cons of this hero. I'm gonna cover the skills, and I guess this is gonna be a little bit of a longer section because he has, I guess, an additional 4 skills compared to other heroes, similar to Venslar. And last but not least, we're gonna go into a combo section. So without further ado, pros of Sura or Ninja. So let's talk about the pros of Sura. He has a lot of guard breaks, and even on top of that, a super armor ignore. So his second, third, and fourth ability all have a guard break on the normal form. I'll talk about the forms later on, or in a few seconds actually. And also his second ability has a super armor ignore, which is incredibly powerful. Let's have this Segal sit here with his, there we go, with his ulted 4 ability, so he has permanent super armor while charging, and boom, we can break that. Super good, super powerful, makes you being able to open up any enemy regardless of block, super armor whatsoever. Very scary and powerful tool of his. He's also very fluent, like his auto attack string, it chains very well into most other things. He does have animation locks, and I'll cover those in a few seconds as well. Generally though, a very fluent and powerful hero. You can cancel animations with other stuff. You can also cancel animations mid-skill. There's a lot this hero can do, and I'll try to squeeze this in, but generally very fluent and very nice to handle once you know where the cancels are and how they work. Last but not least, he has a lot of different options, and that is due to his RMB being sort of unique. He has, like, the skill is called Sixth Blade Freeform. Generally, if you don't use any of your 4 abilities, his right mouse button is always gonna look like this. So this is his neutral RMB, I want to call it, or formless, if you will. And for example, if we press 1, you can see this little buff here. Whoops, we don't want to call the dual. This one here, able to use Whirlwind. So whenever you use any of his 4 first abilities, 1, 2, 3, 4, you will get a buff that lasts 8 seconds. This buff is not overrideable, so if I have one buff going, you cannot override this. And what this buff does is it changes the animation, or it changes the RMB altogether. So for example, the neutral RMB was this flurry of blows, and if we wait and do that, it's called whirlwind because he does a little whirlwind. And this applies to all of the 4 abilities. I'll cover those in more depth in the later section of the skills. Generally though, this gives him a lot of options. He's very scary, and sometimes it can be hard to anticipate what exactly his next move is gonna be. So this can be used to your advantage. The buff is visible to your opponent. So if you have this buff going, the enemy can see it. If he knows Sura well enough and has actually time to read it, you can predict what move you're gonna be, or maybe trying to use next. However, like I said, in certain circumstances when it gets hectic, this is very good to have different options and multiple things you can use. So this is as far as the pros go. The cons, I already touched on this. He does have animation locks. This is probably the hardest one. Very long animation lock. This one too, for a long animation lock. There we go here. So these are the animation locks he has to deal with if he doesn't land a blow. He's not as bad, or I guess maybe Goyen is now even better after the buff. Generally though, you do want to make sure you hit these moves, because if you don't hit these moves, you're very susceptible to punish. So make sure whatever you're using, either you have something else you can pop instead, or make sure you have your finger on E ready, because you may need to get out of the sticky situation. The second thing, and this is probably the hardest issue for him, he doesn't have any real protection. Now he has super armor. Rather, he has 1 super armor that is more or less always available, and that is on Form 2. This is how I'm going to reference to these skills, or RMB 2. This is maybe what you've seen in Discord. So his RMB after 2 has super armor. This is his only protected move without taking ultimate abilities into account. If we take ult 4, you will get a guard on the second part of the skill. So the skill is divided into 2 moves, right? A dash into one of your directions of choice, and then a dash forward where he strikes down. The forward move has guard on it. The sideways, backwards, like if you have a neutral one, it goes backwards, but you can also dash sideways. And as soon as he starts moving forward, he's gonna get a frontal guard, which can be used as a bait or to block certain incoming attacks. However, like I said, the problem is it takes ult forward to get this frontal guard. Without ult, he doesn't have this. So he's a very open in terms of he doesn't have a block, he doesn't have super armor really, because that one, there are occasions where he can be using that. Generally though, I do not advise to try and bait people with that super armor in unless you absolutely know what you're doing. So after a little bit of a longer pros and cons section, because this hero is a little bit more complicated than others, we're going to talk about the skills. Kick as usual, nothing really different from others. He has a very nice fast forward F, so a very good and powerful kick, can be used as a combo starter as well. Generally though, he has better tools for that. I already talked about the RMB, his inherent skill. Honestly, this is a little thing that bugs me. I don't think there is any real use for his neutral RMB. It has no protection on it. It has a bleeding on it. Well, it has stiffness super armor, but, you know, kicks and stuff can break that. So that's really that. It applies a bleeding for minus 500 HP, which isn't terribly much, especially late game, but it is there. Also, it has an innate HP recovery, and how that works is we're gonna... There we go. Let's reduce our HP a little bit. So if I use RMB and hit the enemy and then let go of anything, with that final animation where you saw these red sparkles around, he heals for 500 HP. Honestly, it's more of a gimmick than anything. It applies to all of the form RMBs as well. So for example, we do that one and he sheaths, he recovers. And like I said, this applies to all 4 of them, or all 5 of them technically. Though I don't really see this being useful, as you may drop your combo and it's very scary for a little 500 HP recovery. It can be used in PvE, it can be used on boxes and stuff, but it's more of a gimmick than anything. So first ability, First Blade, Rushing Gale. Very good in terms of combo extension. It has a little bit of a wind-up at the start, so after you press 1, he has like half of a second of a wind-up. Camera is sorta locked, so you gotta be careful where you time that one. And there's 2 forms, or 2 parts of this move. So if we hit an enemy, we'll do another dash through, which does apply a knockback to the enemy. So it does have CC on it. However, if you're, for example, using this move when you're close to the enemy, it will shoot you quite a bit further away, and this is very prone to disjointing. So you gotta be sure, make sure that the distance is more or less correctly aligned, because this can screw up your combos. Just keep that in mind. And last but not least, you can cancel the second hit of this with his Form 1 RMB. That was the Whirlwind. If you just hold down RMB, you can just instantly transition into the Whirlwind. Can be used at some certain occasions if you're maybe not sure if you're going to be able to get the back attack going, or there are some moves, but generally this can be done. But you can also just do it like this, do a 180 turnaround and do for a Whirlwind. Generally, I'm not a big fan of the skill, I'll be honest. I very rarely use it as a combo extension opener, because if you don't hit, that animation lock is quite brutal. So you gotta make sure you know what you're doing. Second Blade, Counter Current, like I said, guard break, ignore super armor. Super powerful skill. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. We're gonna do that one again. Super armor, and bam, you can slap people out of this. Super good. Very fast activation speed. Range is not the greatest one, but definitely one, if not my go-to engager. Despite the limited range, so you gotta get close to the people, but once you're in effective range, this one is very scary to deal with. RMB, or Form 2, is this little backstep thingy. Now this one can be a pain to land. If the enemy starts moving, or if you whiff your camera around too much, you're more likely than prone to miss this move, because it has a very strange pattern of movement. I'm going to show you this after the cooldowns are gone. So generally if the enemy is standing, the skill combos in itself just by holding RMB, but So if you're looking at this direction, pressing RB, you can see that it's like a diagonal thing. And like I said, if the enemy is moving and the knockback applies a little bit late, or you turn the camera too much, it is prone to end up doing something like this. So you gotta make sure, if you do the follow-up RB, make sure you align the camera correctly. At best, the enemy is not moving or is in a move and you countered their guard or super armor, then this one is almost always gonna guarantee to be hit. Very powerful move, like I said, super good. Third Blade, Searing Flash, one of his hardest hitting abilities, also, at least in my opinion, one of the coolest looking ones. This one's a little bit of a weirdo because it has 2 hits, right? Or actually, it does 4 hits, but it has like a 2-step activation, if you will. The first one doesn't CC. So it's only like the second portion of this skill which does actually do the knockback. So you can see we did like 2 hits impacted, and only after the third one landed, we did CC. This causes, or can cause, combos to drop, because the CC is not instant, but on the second portion of these abilities. You gotta be sure when to use this ability. It has fairly decent range, so this is probably the best one I can show you. The first hit didn't, like the first blows didn't even land, but the second one did. Let's try and see that again. And even if the first one would have landed, the CC is only on the second blow there. Very powerful, probably my most favorite ability on this hero. And his R&B version, which is called Shooting Star, also very nice activation. Has a fairly decent range, good damage, looks good. Also has this little 2-step thingy. Very good as a combo extender. Unprotected has also a blowback, so he has a lot of blowbacks, but don't be afraid, most of his combos do align very well. So generally, blowback, and boom, another blowback. Last but not least, 4th Blade, Demon Rend. I already talked about this with the guard if you have it ultimate. There are a few things to this move. First of all, you can cancel the whole move altogether. So if you only press 4, this is what the move is gonna look like, right? He does a dash backwards, and then he dashes forward. I'm gonna max the skill to reduce cooldown, because otherwise we're gonna sit here for a while. There are multiple ways how you can manipulate this move. The first thing I want to talk about is you don't have to wait until you attack, or at least not the full animation. So if you just do the neutral one again, you can see he stands there for roughly half or even up to 1 second. And by pressing your left mouse button, you can instantly go for the attack. This is important if you, for example, whiffed your combo, or do have a different CC and don't have enough time, or maybe you have to walk up because something happened, maybe edge alignment, mountains or something caused them to fly faster or further. You can use this to almost instantly cancel into the attack animation. Also, another thing that you can do is, I did that earlier as well, you don't have to dash backwards, you can dash sideways as well. So if I, for example, hold A or D, so I'm walking to the left here, boom, you can do that. And you can also cancel this dash again into the strike again. You can also cancel the animation without the strike altogether, so you can technically use this as an additional dash if you wanted to. So for example, you could dash roll out of this. Can be used in a variety of ways, like I said. Don't get too, I would say, strategic about this. While this can be used as an extender, right? So you can use stuff like this. You can cancel 4 into 2 or other moves. I would generally not advise to do this, because 4 is a very powerful move, especially in terms of damage. And losing this in a combo usually results in your combo not being able to kill someone. So I'd highly suggest not trying to do all that much fancy stuff like this here. It can be used if you have, like, if you're in a pinch or the enemy is like half HP or something. This can be used and can be very effective. Do something funky or cancel them off guard. Last but not least, like I said, you can also cancel this with a dash roll or an additional dash. For the R&B, this is a very fast and potent engage. Probably the best he has. It's not safe, it's not protected, but the activation speed and distance is very, very strong. Also, you can tap 4 and just instantly transition into RMB. So it's not even that the enemies cannot even really read it if you just instantly cancel into that. Also, having the ultimate on 4 does not only give you the guard, but also increases the travel distance. So we're gonna try and determine the damage or the distance here. Oops, I kind of wanted to do the RMB. All right. So this is the distance we're roughly about on this last leaf here. Gonna take hold 4. Wait for the cooldown. That up again. Roughly this direction. Boom. You can see it's not a whole lot, but it definitely can make the difference between people thinking you're in effective range or not. It's a very fast engage. It's almost impossible to react to it. So keep that in mind. I don't use it as often as I wanted to or like to, because I do like the damage on 4. But if you get around using this move, it's gonna be very, very powerful, and you're gonna be very scary to deal with, because even far distances like this can be covered very, very quickly without people being able to react or thinking, oh, he's out of range. He may not be able to react. Like I said, you can also do certain other setups, like do a forward 4 and then into RMB. There's multiple ways how you can do this. All in all, like I said in the pro section, very, very fluent different options this hero can do. Alright, so last but not least, as usual, the combos section. I'm gonna give you a few examples of how he can string combos. He's a little bit like Oyen, where he has almost a combo start of every ability he does. There are a few preferred ways on how to do it though. So, first off, we're gonna start off a combo of his first ability. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of opening a combo like this, but there are occasions where this works. Some people really like this move, so we're just gonna go with that. We're also gonna reset skills to reduce the damage a little bit. Alright, we're just gonna show you the combo first. So generally what happened here, we're gonna reset this one first. We popped off with our LMB first, or with the first ability, did a 180 to score a back attack on the whirlwind, like this. 2 LMBs into kick, 3 LMBs into 3. You can cancel the animation of 3 with 4, run forward 2 into RMB. You can technically also follow up most of these blowbacks with a running attack or crouch attack if you wanted to. I'm not a big fan of either of those, so I'm usually skipping on those. The second combo, pretty much my go-to combo, or what I use most of the time, is it starts off with 2. So as usual, we're gonna pop this one off. And that's it. Again, as a short explanation, I'm gonna do a reset here. We started off with 2 into RMB follow-up, like I said, without any alignment. 3 follow-up into 4, run a little bit forward, press 1 back attack with a kick, 3 LMBs into form 3. Most of these combos, like I said, aren't too difficult. There are a few extensions or situations where it can be sticky. Generally though, most of these combos are not too terribly hard. Last but not least, I'm going to show you a combo of 4 RMBs. So we're going to cancel, like I showed you earlier, the 4 directly into RMB. Follow up with 3, 1 back attack kick, 2 into RMB. Not the most damaging combo, especially since you're losing the initial damage of the 4 RMB. Obviously, you could string it together like this. So let's say we actually managed to land with 4 without the cancel. Boom. Oh shit. That is sometimes what happens with Sura, so be prepared for some combos to disjoint. Let's try this one more time. Boom. This one worked better. And now his first ability shot me faster. You can see that sometimes, especially 1 and some of his moves are not super reliable. So generally, I'll show you my bread and butter combo, which I use most of the time. Where I have the least issues with is this one. while it looks like it's kind of hard and pinchy on the timing, it's actually not that terrible. It's very convenient for me. It's very nice to use. It cycles cooldowns in a very nice manner and stuff like this. All right, this is pretty much all I want to give you guys for Sura. There are multiple more ways. You, for example, didn't really see me use this one. A lot of people like the Whirlwind way more than I do. I just don't like the ability because of how bad the animation lock is and how little damage that Whirlwind gives off compared to other abilities. But ultimately, it's your decision and your choice of how much you like certain abilities or how you string combos together. Anyways, this is all for today's guide. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as usual. I will be back to my regular streaming schedule on Monday in the evening, 1700 CEST, and a second day per week, which I will announce on Discord and Twitter. As far as anything else goes, feel free to shoot me a message in the comment section below on Twitter, on Twitch, or on Discord if you want to. I also have a Discord chat up and running, which you can find in the description. Thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and it was helpful for some of you Sura players, and I will catch you guys either on the next video or on the next stream. So have a good one and see ya.